fine, sure. Yeah, yeah, no problem now.
Yeah, sorry. You're right on time.
Okay.
Hey, Jace, how are you?
Good, Neil.
Good. You made it right on time.
Yep.
That clock's a little fast. All right, I call the meeting to order. Please join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Today's date is September 10th, 2018. It's 6:30. This is the regular council meeting. We'll do roll call. Lacey, you want to do roll call, please?
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Hutchison.
Here.
Mayor Yoder.
Here.
Councilmember O'Regan.
Here.
Councilmember Carlson.
Here. Thank you. Does anybody have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I do, Mayor.
Yep.
I want to add a background investigation training course to the
Okay.
agenda.
And that's under your
Under
department?
my department, yes.
Okay. So it looks you want to do it at, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last. Will that work?
Yep, that'll work.
Okay.
And I'll have a vacation request on mine.
Okay. And Bruce, what, you are at the Public Works?
What was that?
Vacation request. Okay, does anybody have anything else? All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda. I'm looking for somebody to make a motion to approve A through I.
I will make that motion.
A motion made by Johnson, looking for a second.
Second.
Second by O'Regan. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda request, we have Ronald, is it Bradley?
Yes.
Bradley, you got the floor.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time tonight. I just wanted to share some information as far as the district and where we are and how we got here. And I'm going to go through this presentation real quick. You've got a hard copy in front of you. There's a lot of rumors out there, and some of them are true and some of them aren't quite as true. And so this is just kind of a review of everything that we've done up to this point in the district. So basically, Bill 2170 is kind of our platform, and there's two components to it. Basically, the first one is we want to improve our communication throughout the district. And so if you look at our website, we've improved that website and we've added some other features. The second point, and you've heard all about it, I'm sure, is that we're looking at a building program. And so that's what I want to focus on tonight for a few minutes. And I told Al that I would keep it to less than an hour. See if I can get this thing to work. Oops. So why build 2170? Well, basically what we did a number of listening sessions. We met with students, the school board, the staff, communities. We did some surveys, and from that, and we also did an educational advocacy report, and I'll share that with you also. Staples Community did a study of their community and what their community wants and what they feel is important to them. We just got those results back here a couple of weeks ago. And we've also looked at our financial and enrollment history over a number of years, and we've also looked at our projections for the next 5 to 10 years. We've analyzed our deferred maintenance issues, our needs, and I'll share some of that with you also. And we know our operating costs, just like yours, are keep going up and up. And we've had to look at reductions, and we're still looking at reductions and how can we do that and be more efficient. And the last one, which sometimes is kind of a sore point, but we have to be competitive with area school districts. With open enrollment, people always shop around to see what's their best, they're going to get their best bang for the buck. And so those are the areas that we look at to say, okay, why should we build? So we did listening sessions, and these were the top 10 listening sessions, and if you can imagine that the updated bathrooms was the top one. So I don't know what that tells us, but we won't go into that. Basically, updated classrooms, appropriate sizes. We have our needs have changed. I started my first year in school was a country school, and things have changed. Even in just the last 5-10 years, education has changed immensely. And so we've looked at that, and our classrooms, some of our classrooms just aren't appropriate. They're not what they should be, and the furnishings are different. Technology, it's always a struggle, as you well know, to keep up with technology. It's always changing, and we want to be on the forefront of that. Indoor air quality is an issue. There was a state report from the Minnesota Department of Health here about 2 years ago, and it said that 50% of the schools in Minnesota do not have the proper indoor air quality. And that's, as you all know, that affects the comfort, and it affects the attention and also the learning environment. Our gym spaces are adequate to a certain degree, but there's always more demand for our gym spaces. And some of our gym spaces actually are a little light. The community center has some gym space, but that isn't really providing, in Staples isn't providing what we need. And the gym space that you have here is not A1 quality either, as you well know. For those of you in the audience, I'm Ron Bradley, superintendent of the schools. I probably should introduce myself. Maybe I shouldn't know, I don't know. So our facilities are not competitive in the region. If you look around the neighboring school districts, most of them have had either a new renovation or a new school in the last 5 to 10 years. Wadena got by surprise, but they still have a new school. And so that's an issue of competitiveness. Our maintenance costs are getting higher and higher. We have 3 sites that we have to maintain. And they're old, like someone said the other day, they're tired. And so we need to look at that. And I'm going to show you some more information. So after a lot of discussion, and there was a lot of input from parents, especially, that said, I have 3 children and I have to go to 3 sites. We're not that big a district. Why can't I just have 1 site? So we've looked at the one building and the staffing. We know that we can save money on staffing. We know we can save money on transportation. Programming, robotics, CTEs, that's career tech education. Actually, Mike Schmidt and I are meeting with the college and seeing if we can cooperate and utilize some of their equipment in exchange, because that's expensive stuff and it's turning over, and they have a lot of ability to work with that. And then I'm sure you'll find this as a surprise, but security and safety are an issue in schools today. We just completed, a number of us just got certified in the ALS program as certified instructors, so that was nice. Here's the adequacy color report. If you look at this, yours is not in color, but the red is the deficiencies, and on your chart, if you look real hard, you can see it's an R. And then the yellow is, it's questionable, but sometimes it's kind of getting to the red part, but it's not really adequate. And then the green part is pretty much meets the standards of the state and as far as education. So you can see when you look at this that there's a lot of red there. And so that indicates what we had for our conditions at this point. We looked at our facilities and what we needed to just to get our buildings, fix our buildings, tuck pointing, roofs, all of those type of items. And there's, you can see, there's a number of different areas that we looked at. And just to spend $10 to $12 million, if you walked into the school after we spent that, you would say, what did you do? It's all behind the scenes. It was not anything that was cosmetic at all. Next thing we looked at was the educational adequacy, and if we're going to supposedly correct all the problems, the red areas and such, with the classrooms, offices, gyms, and so on, it would be another $15 million. So when you add those two together, just to fix what we need to fix now, we're looking at somewhere between 25 and $27 million. That's a lot of money. And that was for all three buildings. So what are the desired outcomes? Well, first of all, flexible learning. That is, things are changing so fast that when we build, we need to look at building classrooms, for example, or gymnasiums and other areas, so they're flexible. They're not just for one type of study. Security, safety features, indoor air quality. We wanted to have the fields on site. Right now we have students that walk from the high school down to the elementary area for our fields. CTE, you can't see it in the clock there, but CTE programs are becoming more and more popular and more demand. The principal and I have met with Brunswick and New York Mills. We've met with some other industries that are looking for workers. And so we need to make sure that we can try to provide students that have the basic knowledge in order to fill those positions. Because everybody's looking for workers. Everybody's working. So we need to do our job and prepare students. Natural daylighting, energy efficiency, and then community involvement. When we're looking at this building, we're saying, okay, it should not only be for K-12, but it also needs to be for the communities. And what can we do to make it usable for walking track or a number of different areas. And I've just listed a few there. And then, of course, modern technology. But I guess I just want to keep emphasizing this is a community-focused building so that it's not just for the kids, it's also for the community. Some of the options that we looked at was one school, brand new school, and then we looked at that, and it would be about $80 million. If we went to two schools, there are different combinations there, but if you look at the bottom there, you see even with two buildings, utilizing two of the buildings that we have now, we would spend between 48 and 53 million, or 24 to 30 million, plus what was up on the other buildings. It's a lot of money. And if we looked at three schools, we could do the status quo, not do anything. But we didn't feel that was the right thing to do. And again, when you look at the right side there, you've got 25 to 27 million just to fix and repair. And then if you throw in the adequacy, can't even see it now. You're getting up to 30 million, close to 30 million. So utilizing all that information, then we talked about, well, where are we going to build? Well, one of the ideas was mile marker 111. Let's build between the two communities. And when we looked at that, the first thing, and let's see, I got too many eyes and utilities there. The first thing we looked at was the utilities. And if you look at mile marker 111 or in that area, it's going to cost us $7.5 million just for utilities to get out there. And then we have to buy the land. And so and then you get new building costs, completely new. So the dollar amount starts to rise pretty fast. So and then we have land. So do we want to buy land or do we want to use what we have? We looked then at the middle school and said, okay, what if we use the middle school as the site? Well, it's pretty well landlocked. We don't have room. And all around the building, the present building, there really isn't any land that's available. And the renovation costs. When we took those two things into consideration, we said, okay, let's look at the high school. And quite honestly, in the beginning, the high school looked like the most attractive. But then when we started looking at, again, we're landlocked there, and our fields, our kids are already walking to the elementary to play football and so on and so forth. So that, after a lot of consideration, then we said, now let's look at the elementary. Well, the biggest advantage of the elementary is that the fields are on site. Also, it's a smaller building, so there's less renovation costs. So for actually just a little bit more, we're going to get 80% new building versus, if you want with the high school, like 40% new building. And then the proximity to the college was also a factor that we looked at. So there's a lot of thought that went into this. So what do we do with the other buildings? Well, this is my word, so you can blame me for this, but that we repurpose. We know that, for instance, in Motley, we need to have daycare and we need to have early childhood. There's a big demand over here. We need that. You know, there's other possibilities that have been listed there, not only for Motley, but also for Staples. We're working with the city of Staples to say, okay, they have their swimming pool, for example, needs millions of dollars worth of work. So do they want to put that in, put money into that, or are they going to work with the school district and have a pool in the building that we can use for the community and the students? So those are conversations that are happening. And I guess I would welcome and suggest that we have some conversations of what this building could be used for. Al and I talked 6 months ago, I think, about this a little bit. And so I want you to think about that, and we'll have some conversations down the road. So how much is it going to cost? Well, we're looking at 187,000 square feet of new building, and these are just estimates at this point. And then we're looking at renovation of about 47,000 square feet. So if you look at that, we're looking in that $60 million range, plus or minus. And again, as we go through the schematic and the programming design, we'll find out more exactly how that's going to come out. But 60 million should be adequate. So what do we get for that 60 million? Well, we're going to get an elementary school remodel, we're going to get middle school and high school additions. And one of the issues that I've heard from people is, well, you mean the kindergarten are going to be with the seniors? Oh yeah, but not in the same area, they're going to be segregated. But when you go to smaller schools, they ride the bus together. So, you know, some people have concerns about that. And we understand that. We're going to have a cafeteria with seating and commercial kitchen. And this building, the way we're trying to plan it is that, for instance, we're going to have like 6 gyms. And we're going to have a wall that we were planning so that the community could be on one side of that wall using it at the same time as we had competition on the other side of the wall. Also the kitchen, and I've done this in a different school district, we have the kitchen, the main kitchen for the whole school, but then we also have the concession, so we kind of have a dual purpose. They're using it both ways. So that, and then if there's a community event, that they would also have a kitchen available. So we're trying to really think of everything that we can possibly come up with. It's going to have the field house, performing arts, athletic fields with lighting, and also, again, keep emphasizing community focus. So we're going to be wanting input from you and Staples community as far as what are you looking for? You know, what is going to help you or that you need in the community. So. What's the tax impact? I'm sure that isn't a concern, but I thought I'd cover it anyway. That was a joke. Anyway, Basically, according to the research that have done, Ayler's Financial Group says the Staples monthly average home value in 2016 was almost 122,000. Well, based on that and based on a $60 million project, the approximate cost would be $377 a year, or $31.40 a month, or $1.05 a day. Okay? I don't think you can buy a
How
can of
many
pop
years?
downtown for $1.05.
How many years?
That's based on 20 years. Yes, sir.
Yeah, 60 million over 20 years, that'd be 3 million a year. And interest would probably tack on another 1.25 million. So you're probably about 4.25 million a year then, in additional taxes.
Yeah, I have not, I'm
Well-
not prepared to respond to that, but I'm sure you probably have.
Well, 60 million divided by 20 is 3 million a year. And interest will be over $1 million on 60 million, would be
Yeah.
over $1 million a year. So now we're over $5 million additional taxes that we need. Because the district now is only getting 1.2 million in property taxes. Now we need another 5 million. That would, to me, would mean our taxes go up about 450%. How is that? What those
You
figures
know,
show?
I'm not sure about that, to be honest with
I'm
you.
not either.
That's something that we will zero in on, but based on what they told me, that was, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was 30 years, but I'm not sure. I need to get on top of that. I'll give you a call.
Well, I don't want to live 30 years longer. I want to get back to 30.
So what's the timeline? Well, the timeline is that we have to have a review and comment to the Minnesota Department of Education in December if we want to go out for a vote in May. Now, we originally were talking about having a February election, but when we started looking at this, that was pretty tight to get everything done. And we discussed it and we said, hey, this is probably the only time that we're going to be building in the next 50, 60 years. Let's take our time, do it right. And this isn't going to affect our construction schedule either. So we're trying to take our time and get as much input and do it right the first time. So that just kind of gives you an idea that construction then would begin in 2020. Possibility that we could phase that in, or we wouldn't be doing everything at once, it would be phasing in elementary at one point, middle school at another point, and so on. I was kind of interested in looking at, if you build a new school, what effect does that have on your student base? And the top line there actually is St. Peter, and if you see where the lines are, that's when they had a significant bond issue. And so you can see their enrollment went up both times significantly from the first one to the second. The second one is Pine Island, and you can see they had an issue in what is about 2014. That's the gold on this one, it's the gold. Sibley East is also real close there. Their population basically was flat. And then the black is Chatfield, which is down south. Theirs was pretty flat, and they had two bond issues, one in about 2007 and one in 2016. And then the bottom one, which is kind of interesting, is USC. That's United South Central. That's three communities down by Albert Lee. Can't remember right now for some reason. Freeborn was one of them. So that, I guess you can't form a general conclusion, is that it's going to be, if this is true, it's going to be flat or increase. And right now, I don't think I mentioned this, but we have 300 students that open a net loss to the district. Mostly to Pillager and to Verndale. It's the bulk of it. And you were consolidated in what, 92? Is that right? Is that 92, remember, Greg? In 94, no, I think you consolidated in 94. In 92, open enrollment was the first year that you could utilize open enrollment. So in 94, you had 55 students that were open enrollment to other districts, net loss. And now we're running about 300. The next one, and I know this is hard to read, but basically what this is a comparison with other districts. And I'm just going to read them to you. The first one is Pillager, then it's Little Falls, Browerville, Bertha Hewitt is one of the bigger ones there. Sabika is right in the middle. Pine River Bacchus is the only one that's less than us. Verndale, I think is the next one. And Perham Dent. Wadena Deer Creek, thank you. And the group average is on the far right. So it just shows what our taxes are compared to the other districts. And it was just kind of, I wonder what it looks like. So, the next one, then I'm done. Where do we get our up-to-date information? Well, look at our website. That's listed there. We also, a lot of people use Twitter and Facebook. I'm not a Twitter or Facebook fan, but a lot of our people, that's where they go for their information. And so we have 2 sites there. And then we have school board members, of course, that are directly involved. The administration and also Staples World has done a good job of providing information. Any questions, comments?
Come back to your group comparison. What are you comparing? What's flatline or increasing?
What's the left column?
What is it showing us?
With ADM.
Oh, that's number of students. Is that what you mean?
Enrollment?
Yeah, and that's enrollment, strictly enrollment. Sorry, I didn't say that. Sorry, for ADM, it says at the top, it's average daily knowledge.
Do you know what the enrollment is in the Staples Mountain?
Running about 1150 with preschool.
One more thing, everything that you're speaking about, is this discussed also in detail with the school board that meets on a regular basis?
Greg can answer that.
Your school board members have been involved in this for, I'd say, right at 2 years now, in those community meetings, and we had professional people come in and help us with surveying our communities. We surveyed employees, teachers, kids, parents, old folks. I am one now, so I can say that. But we have a very good idea of what our community wants.
Okay.
And strong emphasis on K through 12 in one spot. And people realize, as an example, we built a new home 4 years ago. And when I compared the things that are in my home compared to what were in my dad's home 50 years ago, no comparison. And so you can imagine in a commercial building like a school, same thing. Virtually everything that's in our schools now, if we built them today, would be illegal. It would be inadequate, it wouldn't meet standards, it wouldn't meet HVAC, it wouldn't meet temperature transfer. It's just amazing. The cost of doing nothing at this point is extremely expensive.
Thanks for your
Hey,
time.
thank you for showing us that.
And let me know when if you want to talk,
Yeah.
have a conversation.
Yeah, that's good. All right, Herb Birga, page 20, you're next.
Thank you, Al.
You betcha.
2 weeks ago, when the paper came out with the ad that we're going to have a 10% increase in levy and also have another full-time police officer, I went around to the businesses with kind of a petition asking them what they thought. And I went to 27 businesses. 26 of them were opposed to an increase in levy, and they were satisfied with 1.5 police officers. One wouldn't sign it. He said he might sign it after checking some things. But that was about every business except I didn't go to the 2 banks. I didn't go to Trident or to Maury's. But it was 27 businesses I went to, and 26 of them said they were opposed to that 10% increase. And they were satisfied with 1.5 police. My question is, on the police department, what is the budget, in the budget for the police department for next year? The budget you're working at? How many thousand are you, with another full-time officer, how many, what are you projecting?
So I'll let Lacey refer us to that, or Jason, one of the two. So, first off, what I want to let you know is that we did have last year a full-time officer, so it was approved last year for a full-time officer and this year. So, but just so you know, to give you the numbers, we've already had budgeted last year for, or maybe even 2 years. How long have we had 2 years? How long have we had 2 officers?
Jason was hired full-time in January 2017,
Okay.
but it wasn't part of the 2017 budget. It was approved for the 2018 budget.
In 2013, we spent $132,000 in the police department. 2017, we spent $183,000 in the police department. And my question is, if you put on 2 full-times, is that going to increase then? Or will it still stay at that $180,000? What are we budgeting for the police department in a new budget?
Have to give me a minute, Herb.
Yeah, not a problem.
Tell me exactly what you're asking.
What, in your proposed budget for next year, what is the police department figure?
Where's my department? Worksheet.
Yeah, Herb, I'd just like to make sure that we are on the same page here, that we haven't voted to do anything yet.
I realize that.
It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a work in progress.
Yes, I realize that, yeah.
What the report in the paper was about was our very first meeting to start working on the budget.
I would just kind of like to get the business community's input into your decisions is
Sure.
what I,
Oh yeah, that's a
That's
good
why I'm
idea.
here.
I just
Yeah.
want to be sure we're together on what's going on.
I didn't,